So delighted to have David Mullins, Grand National and multiple Grade 1 winning jockey, David Mullins, on the podcast. I suppose the Champ.ie podcast, David, is top heavy with Mead men of late, and it's great to have the Carlow Kilkenny voice representative on the show. David, great to have you on. I suppose the last couple of months, David, has been all about recovery for yourself. A nasty fall of thirless resulted in a back injury in October. How serious was the injury, and I suppose how has the recovery been for you?
The recovery has been good. Yeah, obviously I've got the fall in thirless, and it was pretty sore and took a while to get back on my feet and moving properly, but all going well now. Nearly recovered, and I'm going to start getting into the gym in the new year and back seeing proper physios about the right way to strengthen it up. But other than that, now I've just got my collarbone done as well. Sorry, so that broke my left one. That's been done. Hopefully it'll all come together and we'll be able to get back on the mend all around the same time, mid-January.
Well, you're looking well anyway, David. That's the truth. How's the routine? Has it been much different? I suppose the recovery. Like, what's your routine been since the injury?
Painful. I've been told not to do too much. So there's not much you really can do. I'm lucky I have the yard at home. Dad trains. I can kind of keep an eye on what's going on up there, and I have a few cousins and friends. I get to keep a good eye on them and keep my mind in the game.
Absolutely. And I suppose if we cast our minds back 12 months, David, Kemboy gave you one of your most special days in the Savills Chase, the Grade 1 at Leopardstown over Christmas last year. I suppose he maybe surprised a few that day, maybe myself anyway. And I suppose, is he, in your eyes now, will he be one of the leading Gold Cup contenders going into 2020? He makes his return here in the Savills Chase this year.
Yeah, I think it's my instructions going out were first prize money down to fifth by Willie. So I don't think anyone really expected it too much. Cheltenham went a bit didn't go to plan anyway, and Punchestown and Aintree, he was foot perfect. He really showed how hardy and how much of a player he is in Punchestown. So now he's going back again, fancied, and I'd imagine fit and ready for it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, like the hold up with the syndicate and all that. Like, do you think like Willie would have ideally liked to have him out earlier this year, or what would your thoughts be on that?
I don't know. It doesn't really panic a whole lot. A lot of his horses don't run till Christmas, so I wouldn't let it put anybody off if you can understand that. But I'm sure he would have liked the opportunity to have him entered up somewhere anyway. Yeah, definitely.
Certainly, and I suppose yes, he's the highest rated chaser in Ireland this year, 177. That's Kemboy. Another horse that you won a Grade 1 on, David, was Faheen back in the Stairs Hurdle at Punchestown in 2018. I suppose he's entered on Stevens' Day in Limerick and Leopardstown. How impressed were you with him on his chase debut at Punchestown? I thought he'd done well now to come back, especially after his mistake down the back.
Yeah, well, the last time it was over 3 miles. Got outpaced in the beginners, turning in for 2.5. In my opinion, you have to go for 2.5 miles. He's just not as quick as the horse he was, and that's what happens when everybody gets older. You're just not as sharp, but he still retains plenty of ability. I remember him the week before he won his beginners in Punchestown. I was just in Willie's. It was one of my first mornings back in there after the fall, having a look around, and Faheen came up to gallop the best out of a lot of good horses. There's still plenty of spark there.
Yeah, and do you see him, I suppose, would his trip be 2.5 miles or 3, do you think, this year? Would he take on Sam Crow, do you think, at Limerick, or what's your thoughts on that?
I'd imagine so, but I think his trip is 3 mile now. Yeah, the last time he's shown himself at the best was over 3 mile. He beat Penn Hill, so he beat the best of the best over 3 mile. He's been tried back over 2 mile. It's just not working for him. Cheltenham last year was a bit of a puzzling race as well, but in the 3 mile, I think he's a 3 miler. That's my opinion.
Fair enough, David. I suppose speaking of 3 mile chases, the King George is obviously the big one. Looks the hottest renewal since maybe the days of a tour. Q Card, Don Cassock ran against each other. Looks the hottest renewal since then. I suppose if you could ride maybe one of the top two in the market, Surname or Lost in Translation, who would it be, David, and why?
To be Lost in Translation, definitely. He's just I think he looks more of a classier horse. I really fancied LTR for it for some reason. I just think a sharp 3 miles around there with the benefit of a run. I thought he would have turned the tables with Surname. He was my pick. If anybody had given me the opportunity to ride one, I would have picked LTR. But I think it's lost in translation now. There's just something in me that's going against Surname.
Yeah, and sure, Willie brings over Footpad as well. I think Barry Geraghty is down to ride. He was impressive on his season reappearance. He never seemed to, I suppose, didn't seem right last year, David. I don't know if you have any news on maybe has he improved this year, or do you think he's a better horse up in trip?
No, I suppose first run back into open company, and he gave himself a fright at the second or third fence in Naas. I think that might have knocked the stuffing out of him for a year. He looked very good and fresh. And before I got the fall, actually, I schooled for the first time back over fences this year, and he just went down. He was electric, like the old Footpad, and we've seen it again and then in Thurles. You know, there's definitely some bit of spark there still as well.
Fair enough, David. There's one horse you absolutely love, and I've been dying to ask you about this horse ever since I knew you were coming on. That's Lorena. It looks like she's going to run into the Racing Post Novice over 2 miles on Stevens' day. She's rated 159 over hurdles, made a lovely start at Gorn. Could she be an Arkle horse in your mind?
I think she could, yeah. I rode in the Mayor's Novice hurdle here. She won in Cheltenham, and on that ground, there was no horse able to go that gap. She kicked the last out of the ground and stayed going. You know, that was over 2 mile. And she even looked like a 2.5 miler that day. Showed the speed of everything. She looked like she had everything. I know last year didn't go to plan. But yeah, she's the real deal. She's a big chaser. Imagine stepping up in grade. That's going to be no problem.
Yeah, and just I've heard a couple, I suppose, of pundits, so-called pundits, saying that soft ground, David, could be the key to her. I mean, does soft need to be in the description? Does she need that bit of ease? She's a big top-heavy filly, like.
You could be right. Yeah, she's a big mare, and she goes through the ground no problem. But she had her soft ground in Champion Hurdle last year, and that didn't really work. So I don't think you can tie any Willie Mullins horses down to anything. If they're on their day and if they show up in any sort of form, I think they'll give the best account of themselves.
Absolutely.
No problem, I don't think, if she got beat by Fakir or Darius either. He's after winning the grade 1. He's beat Mellon in his weekend. He's going to be sharp. He's going to be a lot sharper than her, having his third run over fences. So, if there wasn't much in between them coming down to the last, it's going to be hard to tell the difference again in March if they did meet again.
Yeah, now for your dad, the Munster National Spiderweb ran a big race, in the Munster National. He's entered on the 27th in the Paddy Power Grade B chase. How's he been since Limerick, and would you be expecting a big run here?
Well, I got a great ride off from that day, and sure, you run into one of Willie's Cabaret Queen. I know she ran 4 in the Ladbroke Trophy in Newbury since, but I wouldn't read too much into that. She ran too bad to be true. When you run into one of Willie's well handicapped, it's disheartening because you never had a chance of beating them, like Total Recall and a few of the others, Borough Saint, all the big handicap cases he's had that he's won with that ended up being well handicapped. It's just disappointing when you have a horse that won the Munster National to go back the second year off a mark that there's probably not a lot to him to improve off, but you're always going to get caught out with the honest horses, and that's what he will give. He'll give an honest run of himself.
Yeah, just look at the whole Christmas period as a whole. Is there anything entered in there? Any I suppose young horses in Close Sutton or even in your dad's yard that you're looking forward to seeing in particular over Christmas?
Yeah, really very easy on them up until Christmas, so I haven't seen a whole lot of them. But I was very, very taken by the 2 JP's maiden hurdle winners, Elixir Dene in Naas and Unaccepted in Fairy House. Visually, I think they were 2 most impressive I've seen.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where they're going to show up. I see Elixir Dene has entered, I think, the 27th in Leopardstown in the 2 mile. I'm not sure where he goes, but there'll be 2 horses I'd be keen to keep an eye on.
And David Mullins, the question on everybody's lips, and I must ask you this coming up to Christmas: Christmas pudding or sherry trifle?
Neither.
What do you want? Professor rolls and cream, is it?
Something. No, I think I just have an extra slice of turkey or ham or something.
Listen, fair play. Listen, great to have you on, David, as we preview on the Champ.ie podcast as we preview the festive period. And look, we might get you on at some stage between now and the end of the year.
Thanks very much.
And best of luck with the recovery.
Thank you.
Thanks, David. Bye.